fellow gamers, Peter here from the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Welcome to another video. Today it's about Dystopian Wars. Yes, Dystopian Wars. The miniatures tabletop war game based in a steampunk dystopian Victorian world, an alternative history where world nations battle all over the world. We've got fantastic factions of different styles based on the old power blocks of the Victorian era. Now, Warcradle Studios are a pretty incredible place because they churn out so many of these Dystopian Wars figures. I'm blindsided by how much comes out every month, and they're really, really cool, beautifully detailed, beautifully realised in plastic. They look fantastic on the tabletop when painted up, and Dystopian Wars is a really good game. Now, Dystopian Wars send me stuff for free. I won't deny it, not at all. They're very nice and very generous, and they send me a lot of stuff to show to you. But my opinions are always my own, and I really enjoy this game. I've played it a lot, and I think it's really, really good. And I love the models, and I love the whole feel of it. And if you look at my battle report of Dystopian Wars, you'll see why. You'll see that we have a really, really good time. And I'm very determined to get another battle report out to you. I just have to get organised, and I've got a lot of painting to do. But I do have a couple of fresh armies all painted up and ready to film when we get into a battle report. Anyway, let's get on to what we're going to talk about today, and that is a brand new starter set. If you want to get into Dystopian Wars, now is the time to get into it, because there's a new set and it's called Fortune and Glory. Fortune and Glory, kid. Fortune and Glory. Yep, it's a two-player starter set, which is all aerial forces. So Dystopian Wars very much started off as a naval game, but if you know anything about the origins of the game, it was originally naval, ground and aerial, all three theatres of war or places where you fight. And it is slowly evolving with the Warcradle version to cover everything as well. We've really had a big focus on aerial forces lately, and we're starting to see glimmerings of ground forces, which is going to be very exciting. And there are a couple of ground forces counters in this game, and there are rules for ground forces starting to creep into the special abilities of some of these ships. So I'm going to show you this set now and what you get in it, and describe the different forces. If you like Dystopian Wars, you'll really enjoy this. If you haven't heard of Dystopian Wars, stick around anyway and you might get into it. Okay, so Dystopian Wars Fortune and Glory set. We've got two factions in here. They are the Sultanate and the Union. But they're not just Sultanate and Union forces, they're mercenary forces. So you can use this as the basis for any larger army, because you can mix them with other factions. If you decide after you've bought this set that you want to get into the Commonwealth faction or something like that, you can add these forces to it as a mercenary unit, and they'll all work together. So nice and flexible. It's really good. In fact, if you really enjoy this set and you enjoy the aerial aspect, then your next set you want to get something which is more naval focused. Now, before I get into the forces, this is a starter set, so it's got everything you need to play. There are two sets of the Victory and Valor cards. There's 60 cards in each set. Now, these cards are dual purpose. They have a victory thing on them, which means that you can, if you achieve something during the game, you can say, I've got this card, and get victory points for it straight away. You've also got the Valor side, which means that you get special abilities, so you can reveal those during the game to get special abilities and advantages and do various things. Now, there's one thing I don't like about the design of these, and that is they flip up and down. And I really wish that Warcradle would fix this, because it is completely unnecessary to do that. In fact, it's just during the game, it's a hassle to have to turn it upside down to read both sides. So if you're out there, Warcradle, please just make Victory and Valor cards which you can just read one side up. It'll be so much easier. Anyway, you get those cards. You also get two sheets of condition tokens. And these are great universal tokens that are used for marking damage and various conditions during the game. You get a very nice map of the British Commonwealth Crown territories. Now, I've only seen two versions of this map. One is the Union one and one is the British one. And I'm not sure why there's a British one in this set, because there's nothing British about it. Perhaps they've only printed two different types. But anyway, it does give you a very nice map of the world of Dystopian Wars, as you can see. And there's some artwork on the back. So nice big map there to give you some context for the background and everything like that. What else have we got? We've got lots of dice. There are 40 of these little action dice, which are great. You've got 12 of these special damage dice. So everything you need to start. There's also a campaign book, which is mostly the rules for constructing the miniatures. But at the start of it, it's got several encounters, 5 different encounters, which you can play through in order if you want. And the campaign uses the models from the set, so it's a really nice way to start playing Dystopian Wars. So that's all very well, but it's all about the models, isn't it? That's what you want to see. So we'll start with the Union, and they are the Honourable Eclipse Company. That's the name of the mercenary company. And they start off with this beautiful big model. Now, I must point out that these all come on bases. They've got sea bases, and they have clear stands as well. So when I've finished painting these will be standing on clear stands, floating above the surface of the sea as they go into attack. So if you'll excuse me just looking at my notes, because there's a whole lot of information here to remember. This is the Excelsior Heavy Air Cruiser. Now, it features Freedom incendiary bombs, which is a terrible name for a bomb, isn't it? Freedom. It's also got auto cannons, rocket batteries, flak broadsides, and a heavy gun battery. So it's just a classic kind of huge Flash Gordon type design with an industrial kind of Zeppelin feel as well. As in all Dystopian Wars model sets, you can do different builds on the miniatures to give them different abilities. And in this case, you can build it as the Venture class, which then has the landing vessel rule. Now, the landing vessel rule allows you to land ground tokens on land areas on the board, which is kind of new. It's just been popping up soon. And I'll show you, we've got a couple of land SRS tokens, which I'll show you later. So we're starting to get into that ground forces thing, as I mentioned. You can also build it as Custodian class, whose main thing is that it adds a +2 defense to all models within 5 inches of it. So a couple of variations of that, but a lovely big model. Now there's a smaller version of that, and there's 3 of them, and these are Steward class Sentry airships. Very nice indeed. We've got the little viewing platform at the top there. Lots and lots of lovely detail in these. They're really nice. This features the Sentinel generator, which I think is exclusive to these guys, which removes 2 dice from attacks against it, which is a very handy thing. So very good on the defense. This has 4 different configurations to build as well. The Constellation, Republic, Ticonderoga, or Ranger. And these can all take 1 Akron aerial escort token too. Now, if you know the rules, you know escort tokens can be used to mitigate damage and things like that. So they're very handy to have. You've got 3 of those. Then you've got 5 Bogota carry-all rotors, which are these nice little ships. Now, these are basically bomb platforms. They can carry an aerial torpedo pod or fuel tanks filled with napalm. Ugh. Absolutely horrible. However, you can give them a different option, and that is to give them the supply depot ability, which makes them more of a sort of supply ship rather than an attack ship. Get 5 of those. Then you've got the Sultanate Force, which is the Crimson League, and it's headed up by the Princess Scheherazade, which is the name of the princess from Tales of the Arabian Nights, by the way. She was a member of the Covenant of the Enlightened, which is, of course, another faction in Dystopian Wars for a while. And then she left and started her own mercenary force. And that's why you'll see this beautiful ship has very much Covenant stylings. It's very beautiful, especially this bit in the middle really makes me think of one of the Covenant ships. And in fact, this technology, according to the background, was given to the Sultanate. There were 9 of these ships in return for some rights in a port that they have. So a beautiful looking ship. And of course, as I said, these are all floating on stands. So they look fantastic when they're floating on stands. Absolutely beautiful. This is called, by the way, the Lyceum Aerial Dreadnought. It's got heavy gun batteries, a heavy broadside, and 6 rocket batteries. So pretty nasty ship. Lovely stuff. Then you've got 3 Nacier skyships. And this is where you get that really exotic design of the Sultanate, which has got the domes and these big engine pods coming out the back, the weapon and everything. Really, really nice. Lots of detail in there. I'm looking forward to also painting these in some more exotic colours as well. The official ones are kind of painted in emerald green. That looks really, really good. The nastiest sky ships have an ability called Skyfire, which allows them to re-roll blanks when they're shooting at aerial ships. And they're very agile as well. They've got some agility abilities which allow them to zip through the skies. There are two other variants as well, the Awaspir and the Maharib. I'm sorry, my Arabic is not good. Maharib and Awaspir. Yeah, anyway, look them up. Two variants. Then we've got the Herka Sky Cutters, and there are three of those. Where are they? Here they are. Again, quite exotic stylings for the Sultanate. This also has that landing vessel ability, so it can land ground troops, which is great. And it also has something called the Hydrophone Relay, which means attacks against enemies within 7 inches. If you're attacking them, they ignore the obscured rule, which is quite handy. 3 of those. And then finally, we've got 3 Alaskir, these words, Skybarks. And these are lovely because they've got a sort of sail. So that's the way they go up. And here's the hole on the base. They'll be floating along like this. And they've got this lovely sail sticking out the side, which is very cool. Very exotic. They are very, very agile. But they're really good at harrying larger ships because they can re-roll blanks versus ships of mass 3 or more. So agile little fighters going in there. Now, there's a whole lot of extra stuff in here that isn't even listed on the back of the box for some reason. I don't know why. They just ran out of space. It's really weird. And it's kind of not really described very well. But what we've got here is a couple of cargo tokens, like that. Now, these can be used to just sort of be floating on the water, I presume, or they could be on an island. So, cargo, and they're used in one of the scenarios in the book. As I said, we've got these ground tokens. This is the first time I've seen ground tokens, so it's very exciting. They're like little trucks here going through the sand. So who knows, there may even be a starter set in the future which focuses just on ground forces. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? And then we've got a whole lot of SRS tokens. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of 2 different types. There's actually 5 of one and 3 of the other. And it's not really described anywhere which is which. Which is kind of a shame. It's one thing about Dystopian Wars. The stuff is great, but it's not for beginners. They're not really good at sort of really spelling things out. I just think they need a little bit more description showing exactly what things are. Perhaps a couple of pages in the book could just point out which model is which. They've improved slightly because they've shown the build options on the back of the box, which is great. I still think that all this should be in colour and really showing this off to the best ability, and painted. Of course, you just have to put a little thing down the bottom saying models come unpainted, but they'll look so much better painted. But yeah, a bit more description of what's what. These appear to be a couple of escort tokens, I think, but again, not really described anywhere or mentioned anywhere in the book, which is funny. So I guess you have to look online to work out these things. And we've got a couple of merchant vessels, again, not mentioned except in one scenario, but they're just used. And a couple of escort tokens. Maybe these are the escort tokens. I probably got that wrong. But again, has to be described somewhere. Perhaps if I go into the Orbats, which are the army lists, it shows these. I haven't seen them yet. And then there's one other thing that's a bit confusing here, which is this thing called a Titan Heavy Conveyor. Now, there are 2 of these ships, and I haven't built them yet. And the reason they look roughly like this, but I haven't built them because I haven't quite worked out what they are or where they come from or what the 3 variations are, because they come in passenger, freight and oil variants. They're shown in here how to build them, but I can't find them in any of the lists. So if anyone has found out where the stats are for the Titan Heavy Conveyors, please let me know, and then I can work out which of the variants I want to build. It just falls down on communication there. That is the only criticism I have of this otherwise very generous set. As I said, you've got all your bases there as well. I mean, look at it all. There's heaps. I mean, there's a variant, so don't count that, but you get all of this, and it looks pretty spectacular. Hello, me from the future here. I did work out how to build the Titan Heavy Conveyor. This is the passenger variant, and you can actually double this central area here to make it twice as long. So, well, twice as long for the middle section. To make it quite long, I just made it this long. This also goes on a stand as well, or there's a variant that just goes on the ocean, but this is a nicer variant. Again, I don't know where the stats are for this, and it's not really described in the book very well. There's also a page reference which is incorrect. I found this particular model quite tricky to build, and the instructions a little bit complicated. So I think that when they do the instructions, they really have to show things from multiple angles. One of the problems is that everything is just shown from the same angle all the time, which makes it a bit unclear. But anyway, the end result is gorgeous. You get 2 of these, and it's a really nice model. If I can just work out what its stats are, I can bring it into the games. And just one last thing, there's a lot of bits left over after you make these builds. I always cut these from the sprue and save them in bags, labelled bags, in a box in the garage, because I never know when I want to go back to some of these bits and use them. For example, there's some really nice little domed bits here that you could use in other games or in Dystopian Wars. So always keep your extra bits. You never know when they might come in handy. So if you're getting into Dystopian Wars and you want to play a game which is more focused on aerial battles, this is the one to get. It's the brand new one. I still think the original set, The Hunt for Prometheus, is a fantastic starting point as well, and that's more naval focused. And maybe we'll see a more ground focused one in the future, I don't know. But as I said, War Cradle are churning out stuff for Dystopian Wars every month, so it must have a very healthy following because they really, really release a lot of lovely models. So I really recommend Dystopian Wars. I think it's a great game if you're looking for something new in the world of miniatures tabletop gaming. It's not a super simple system. It's quite involved. There's a lot to it, but it's a really satisfying one. And it's one of those games where once you get to know the rules, it flows really well and is very atmospheric and has a really nice feel. It's very thematic and immersive, which, as you know, is the kind of game that I love. I'll see you next time, folks. I've got lots more Dystopian Wars to show you, so stay tuned if you're into that stuff. There are some other battle fleet sets which I want to show off to you soon, but I wanted to get this one to you soon because it's a starter set, and I think these are particularly interesting, especially since you've got all the gear to get started with, all the dice, the cards, the rulebook. I forgot to mention the rulebook, all there. And of course, go to the Esoteric Order of Gamers website at orderofgamers.com, and you will find my rules and reference for this game. So you can download that, and all the rules, all the relevant rules, not even the relevant rules, all the rules are in my rules and reference sheet, distilled into a much shorter and more digestible form. This, of course, has lots of background material and good reading in it as well, if you want to get into that. See you next time, everybody. Good gaming. Bye for now.